Paul Shahriari. What I'm going to be talking about today is, in my belief, and being in this with Jerry and with Ted and with Bill and with a lot of other folks in the room for the last 15 years, is I think we dramatically need to simplify sustainability. As a concept, it's not a very hard equation, but we've definitely we've added to the complexity to such a degree that I think the movement, quite honestly, has stalled a little bit with non-believers, the folks that aren't already in the church and singing. We're not bringing a lot of folks into that church and that want to sing some new songs and do some new things. So I wanted to give you guys some perspective of what I've seen and how I try to tackle it professionally with what I do. You know, we saw when I first was in this industry, we would track recycled content. Ted was a client early on, and we just track recycled content. But now, in just you know, a little over decade and a half, we're now at a full product transparency. You know, we've gone from single attribute things like recycled content, location of manufacturer, how did it come in on a truck, to now multi-attributes. You know, in some cases, 90 to 100 points that a manufacturer has to tell Ted before he makes a design decision, or an architect before they make a design decision. We've got this self-declared where you just say, this is what I do, to now everything has to be third-party verified by either UL or SCS or Bureau Veritas, which adds more cost and more complexity to the system. You know, finished product details now, you know, are no longer good enough. We have to go all the way up to supply chain, supply chain. We want to know everything about a product. And I think it's growing with this idea of this growth. Before it was just product cost. How much did it cost? Now it's total cost of ownership. What if I put in a bad plumbing fixture and I got to replace it 3 times in the life of a 30-year mortgage in a home? It's no longer a good idea to do that. A lot of people actually in this gigantic housing bubble realize that a 30-year mortgage is a 30-year commitment to pay on a product that you literally bought, in most cases, that had a 1-year warranty. I live in Florida, in Fort Myers, Cape Coral, one of the foreclosure capitals of the world for a while, and I've worked with a lot of large developers, a lot of big builders that now are coming back and redoing phase 3, phase 4 of their development, and phase 1 and phase 2 are literally falling apart. Windows going bad. I went over to Dubai, and the Franz A through F in Dubai and the Palm Jumeirah, all the windows are failed. Every gasket is receded so much because of that, you know, it's kind of hot there, kind of sunny. But they bought knockoff windows, so I went with one of the largest window manufacturers in America, and I got them the largest order in their history just by saying these windows will last the 30 years that hopefully these houses will be there. But then currents in the Persian Gulf are actually eroding half of those islands, so I don't know if they're going to be there. So the good windows will be underwater one day. Small data decisions. And now we're looking at big data analysis. I'll tell you my perspective on big data, but we used to make really small specific decisions back in the day, and now we're trying to make these large scale decisions. It was good enough to be energy efficient. Now we're at net zero, mostly talking about major projects, and now the next conversation is already regenerative. How does every building put a little bit more energy into the grid? When I watch my solar panels wake up in the morning, they all face south. And if we really want to put distributed energy on the grid, I should have some on the eastern exposure of my roof, so when it wakes up, the house can actually go through my 2 daughters and my wife doing the curling iron and all that kind of stuff. Because right now, if all of them do their hair, 5 kW solar array down, 0 output. $40,000 power plant on my roof can be destroyed by 3 curling irons and a hairdryer. So it's kind of fun to watch that, although it's pretty depressing as a sustainability guy. Things that were just non-off-gassing. We bought products that just didn't off-gas. Now it's healthy product declarations. We want manufacturers to disclose, is there an endocrine disruptor? Is there a carcinogen? You know, multi-billion-dollar companies have realized, you know, asbestos was a really good product at one point. We really all kind of liked it. Imagine a list of 474 chemical attributes that's probably in every single building in the world, other than maybe an all-wood Buddhist shrine somewhere that was built 2,000 years ago. And imagine declaring that as a corporation in a highly litigious world where everyone wants to sue for everything. So I want to know that information, but I don't think the information is that important to me in context, because the toothbrush I probably used this morning to brush my teeth probably had 14 of the chemicals in there, but I'm asking my flooring vendor or my wall-based vendor or my ceiling vendor to disclose how much of it's in the ceiling tile. Humans probably aren't going to eat any of the building materials during the course of an office day. But there's architects saying, we will not let you into our product library unless you disclose all this stuff. Meanwhile, they're happily brushing, drinking out of their Nalgene bottle. Might not have BPA, but I guarantee you there's one of those 474 things on that list probably in that Nalgene bottle. We just got rid of one. And the wives of Facebook basically got BPA banned really, really quickly. The reality is that they banned it in lunch boxes and drinking bottles, but every single canned food in America and every grocery store has BPA still in it. Almost every receipt that we touch when we go to the grocery store has BPA on it. Every boarding pass we touch has BPA on it. So I don't use boarding passes, I use the app because I don't have to touch this stuff. So it's really important to think about how this complexity has grown. Recycled content used to be good enough, recyclable is better, but now we talk about cradle-to-cradle nutrients for a manufacturing cycle. How does a manufacturer own that entire process? So maybe they don't have to go out and buy oil 20 years from now when that carpet gets recycled or dematerialized. So the trends going to 2020 have really started to change rapidly, and I think some of the trends that we're seeing can help us actually achieve our goals. So I think visions on projects have changed dramatically in 15 years. It used to be good, just get me to the basic lead points for element, energy. I've met my prerequisites. I'll put in a couple bike racks. I'll do some nice things. I'll buy some recycled content materials, and that's good. I'll get to LEED certified, and we're done. Lowest point total possible. That's how we used to track it. I built software back in the day for that. The cheapest points in LEED. How do you track to them? Now I'd be horrified if that was my business model because it doesn't really matter anymore about points. It's what am I deploying to that project. I think people have actually gotten a lot smarter. I think what we're thinking about is growing. My 10-year-old and 12-year-old daughters think about things way more than I did when I was a kid. Now, if you go to a birthday party, my daughters will actually look at where stuff's made, and they equate to made in China to maybe being not as healthy as possible. So one time when my daughter was like 5 years old, she was at a birthday party, and somebody gave her some makeup, some Molly Cyrus, Hannah Montana makeup, and she flipped it over and just looked at it and said, made in China, and she declared to the entire birthday party at the roller skating rink, I can't put this on, this is made in China, it's probably got hazardous stuff on it. To her friend that was just shocked and appalled, like she thought she got her this great gift, and I've had Girl Scouts over for sleepovers, and they all bring all this stuff, and I'm like, no, let's go get some Burt's Bees lip shimmer. And Burt's Bees should come up with a better marketing campaign because, they don't want to put a farmer with a gruffy beard, and so maybe there's a Belinda Bee out there that can happen. But I think thinking has changed dramatically just in what I'm seeing in my kids' generation. I think training and education needs to evolve much more rapidly. I was at a conference actually with Ted and Jerry a couple weeks ago at my alma mater at the University of Florida. And a lot of what's being taught has not changed very dramatically. I ran into a lot of my old professors, and they haven't left academia in 20 years, and they're asking me about what kind of stuff I do, and I was asking them what kind of stuff they do, and they're doing the same stuff. We have to get better at what we're doing. I think education, STEM, I really like where that's going. I think we should have sustainable STEM. Science, technology, engineering, math should be built on sustainable principles. Because it's the only way that next generation is going to be able to raise their families. We can't keep sustaining what we're doing without changing that. And finally, technology, I think both in hardware and software, is really going to be the key to getting us forward because it's going to automate some of the hard stuff I used to do as an engineer. So as an engineer, I like doing equations, I like making algorithms, but I'm also very, very lazy. I don't like doing 2 things, 3 things, 4 things over and over again. So that's why I build software now to help with this kind of problem. And the one problem I've been tackling since last year when I left here is the idea of sustainable decision making. And I think we have a dilemma right now in that we've grown the amount of data to such a degree that we can't make decisions anymore. When I first built Eco Scorecard, a software 7 years ago, it just did all the automated lead calculations. As a lead practitioner, as a faculty member, I got tired of doing the same recycled content calculation over and over again. Vendors were tired of having thousands of sales reps every day repping and doing lunch and learns, trying to say, this is how our products help you with leads. So I automated the process, made it a free tool. And when I launched it, it only had 12 attributes in our database that we pushed against manufacturers' databases. When I left Eco Scorecard that was acquired by SmartBIM in October, our database had 1,800 elements about a product. Nobody can make a decision when you have 1,800 elements to make a decision off of. I certainly can. I mean, have you ever gone to the grocery store lately and looked at the eggs? This is my litmus test, right? This is my canary in the coal mine. Cage-free, vegan, organic, free roaming, because cage-free just means they're not in a cage, but they can be in a very small pen, very close together. And one of my friends who's not a greenie, he laughed. He said, so I get this egg from a very happy place or a chicken that's in a free-range place. Well, if you kill a chicken that's really happy, Do you ingest more bad karma than killing a chicken that's horribly miserable and wants to die? You know? So my friends, half of them are green folks like Jerry and Ted, and the other half are completely non-green. And they give me these questions when we've been drinking a lot, and I have to ponder them because I'm trying to get more people in the congregation. So my thesis is that we actually have to take the big rocks, define what they are. And for every brand I've ever worked with, I've been really fortunate in my career. I've worked with great contractors, architects, engineers, developers. I've worked with every facet that actually tries to accomplish sustainability. What I found is that they all have different drivers. But unless you start talking in the key performance indicators that they care about, you're never going to get any traction. How do I go and make a manufacturer spend $2 million in R&D for a market product that might not ever have a buyer? FSC certification was pushed by one of my large flooring clients. They spent $1.5 million, certify these huge wood lots. They get wood from 700 different wood lots in America, the largest wood flooring producers. They spent all this money on FSC certified wood that would go to Home Depot and Lowe's. In 6 months, they didn't sell one square board of it. And all it was 25 cents more a square foot. The CEO looked at me 6 months later, he said, "Hey, Paul, this was a really crappy idea. We're the market leader. We built what the market, the architects said they wanted. We built what the rating system said we should have. Nobody bought it. So you now owe me $1.5 million. So the key here is that I think it's about context. How do we group these metrics into things that people care about? I always look at intrinsic motivations versus extrinsic motivations. I think the best place to get people to humanistically change is to look at their intrinsic motivations. So if you buy Tom's shoes, which are really cool, you buy one, they give one to an impoverished person somewhere else in the world that doesn't have access to footwear, great. But did you walk into Nordstrom or Saks where they sell Tom's shoes and say, I needed to get a pair of shoes for a child in Guatemala? No, you wanted to feel good about what your extrinsic impact was, but you still needed to want to feel like that. Very few people, like Doc pointed out, just say, it's time for me to die. I'm going to go over here and crawl under a tree and I'll die for the good of the village. Very few people are like that. We have moments in life or in history that there's folks like that. But I truly believe that to make decisions happen on a sustainable path, we have to give people the reasoning behind why to do that. And that's what I've been focusing on for the last year. And the main focuses for me and my research are, it's going to deal with energy in whatever form that person cares about energy. It's going to deal with water, life cycle, total cost of operations. It's going to deal with human health, and it's going to deal with planetary health. To me, after being in this space for 15 years, when I define it like that, almost everyone I know, both green and non-green, kind of understand it, and I can get out of them what they view human health about. So a lot of moms say it's about buying organic fruits and vegetables for my children and making my home as clean as possible. I want to have HEPA filters, I want to have this and that. But it comes down to very small, minute points, very, very discrete points. And I call it simple, sustainable intelligence. My goal in the rest of my career in sustainability is going to be focused on automating the things that an engineer has to do so people can still make that intrinsically motivated decision. So the first app that I released 2 days ago is called My Green Payback. And the whole idea is to say, what's in it for me if I do X, Y, and Z sustainably? So you match out, things in performance, whether the product is a singular thing like a toilet or a window or a light, but also they could be macro things. I'm working with a home builder actually in Florida that actually take his 6 model homes that are being built smaller, more environmentally friendly, and actually make every house a product, because that's what he's essentially selling, a product. And in that product, there's a kit of parts. So to me, the equation as an engineer, dorky engineer that I am, is simplicity is greater than complexity. It takes more work to make simplicity actually happen. But if you do it right, your brand will benefit. And whether your brand is an architectural firm, a developer, a real estate person, if you actually figure out how to do this right and think about what your customers want out of you and only tell them the stories that matter, you will connect. And some brands have done this very, very well. Apple has done it probably better than any other brand. Those simple commercials, are you Mac or are you PC? They didn't tell you had to be PC, but I don't think anyone ever watched that commercial and said, I want to be PC, right? Tesla, every other electric car company failed. How come Elon Musk figured it out? He just built a better car. It just happens to have a different power plant. And then he made everything around the brand really, really cool. And he figured it out. And now everyone's probably having a conniption fit in the automobile industry going, how the hell did this guy do it in 3 years and have a market cap close to the value of GM starting from scratch? There's a mall by our house. There's not that many Teslas in our neighborhood. Brand new Tesla charging station in the middle of the mall parking lot. It glows at night. It's the coolest thing at the mall. People drive by and take pictures in front of it, and it's a charging station for a car they don't own. It takes some effort. So the whole idea that I have is actually to drive simplicity to the part where you don't need to be involved with real estate to get our planet on a path to sustainability. I think consumer-driven things are big. 50% of all energy is in either plug loads or lights. Guess what? You don't involve an architect, an engineer, or a contractor to change those out. You just have to make a better decision. So I start with a context that everyone that I've ever talked to in my industry is a consumer at the end of the day. If they don't walk the walk at home, guess what? They probably don't walk the walk at work. So the idea is that can you actually put something on every device that embeds the engineering that I do on a daily basis into a simple, straightforward app? So what we've built out, and we're launching in a couple of months for a couple of clients, is a quick searchable index of products that I can compare and evaluate, do some calculations, do a quick configuration, get my financial returns, and then share those returns with the rest of my tribe. In a lot of social media circles, your influencer group, your other aspirational folks that are in your cliques, value that. In every group of friends, there's the car guy, there's the tech guy, there's the foodie, there's the beer connoisseur, there's the guy that knows IPA beers better than anyone, there's a wine person, and it allows you to figure out where you want to go and how quickly you want to get there. So we put that in the pocket, in the hands of a lot of people. I think we can get to sustainability a little faster. In the worlds that we live in a Revit model or SketchUp model or Navisworks model, whatever kind of BIM software, imagine just going in there and going, there's tags in all these products. I don't want to see the entire MSDS sheet. I just want to see the one thing that I said and I calibrated in my app that's important to me. So maybe I can go and really quickly find all the toilets in the building, figure out what kind of major indicators I have, count them for me, and then tell me the payback. And if I change the tag and say, it's not this toilet, it's that toilet, or this model, not that model, just change the graph for me. Give me my feedback quickly and effortlessly. Because if we don't make it this easy, folks, people aren't going to do it. Gone are the days where I could sign up a consulting agreement for $100,000 and just babysit an entire project. So to be the entire integrated project doing their work, and there's a consultant in the corner going, that's okay, I'm keeping score. The owners want to see this because the owners will actually lean in and pull on this movement as opposed to taking all these pushes. And then finally, we're working with a visualization software that takes Revit and SketchUp models and actually put the tags so that anybody on an iPad or any kind of device can just float around the building, walk around it, and anything that might potentially have a return on investment, it just pops up. So if you walk in the model, here are the 3 fixtures, and here's the opportunities to do things better, quicker, faster. And then again, provide them that feedback. So in the AEC world, we have tools out there. We have really cool collaborations that we can do and start doing so that this kind of a system is available, because we're not going to have the time and effort to do that. And the final point and the final slide is, my daughters are really big on making me build them a game. So what I'm doing is I'm using the basic technology of the app, and I'm doing it to where the kids can drop in products like Angry Birds, shoot them into a house, a school, a place that they actually go to, and make the kids that are between 3rd grade and 8th grade the ones that actually make you go green. Because nobody's going to say no to a 3rd grader that comes up and says, this is our water budget in our school, we should replace the toilets because the $1,200 a month could be deployed for iPads. That's a tough PTA meeting. So the whole idea is to take what we do in our world in simulation and essentially just gamify the simulation, because all the underlying technology is there. We just have to make sustainability fun, simple, and most of all, make these tools free. So in conclusion, it's all back to the vision, the people, and the technology. If we make sustainability a fun path to go on, more people will do it. But right now, we've complicated it so much that I'm afraid people are like, I don't want to go on that road. That's a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of work for me to do when I'm already in a busy schedule and a busy platform. So thank you guys. I appreciate your attention.